All right, we're going to call this a pre-show. Woo! Test. Pre-show, we're running. It's Rants of Izzo here on Spreely TV. Happy Monday. It's warm out there, and I still have not recovered from the weekend. All right, pre-show. Alon's joining today. It's the last time we had you on was December. Holy shit, dude. Can you hear okay?
I hear you.
Oh, we're fantastic. All right, this is the Rants of Izzo here on Spreely Media. This is a pre-show. Swear to God, it's hotter than fucking a pair of elephants' balls in the plains of Africa. That's my analogy, and it sucks because I'm fucking dehydrated and hot. All right, let's see. Guys, this is the Rants of Izzo show. Spreely TV, Spreely.com. All the things you need to know, you go over to Spreely.com. You check out the other lists of shows that we have there, like Report and Opine with Eric Butler, who's going to be joining me tomorrow on Tuesday. The Burn Pit Podcast, they join me on Wednesdays. We haven't got Lola Christina a show yet. We're working on it. We're working on Kayla from Flex Your Feminine, a couple other things. There's a social media platform there, too. If you like free speech, go check it out. Everything's free speech. Say what you want. That's what this platform is all about. All right, we are live in 30 seconds here on Spreely TV. This is a pre-show for those who don't get to see it on the streaming app. If you're watching on a replay, it's a pre-show. We're just warming up the pipes, if you will. All right, get rid of this. We also got some sponsors we're going to mention today. If you want to advertise your business here on Spreely.com, text me about your business at 708-982-0974. Alon, we got to talk about your business today.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to plug that. Are you kidding me? All right, kids. Welcome to Rants of Izzo show. Let's have a show today.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on this show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go.
Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday. This is the Rants of Izzo show out here. We're in August, the 5th of August at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern for everybody out in the East Coast. And you know your other time zones, all you got to do is go watch or you Google shit. Blows me away how anytime somebody says, what time is your show on? And I always use Eastern time. It's 1 p.m. Eastern. What time is that over on I live in Arizona. What time zone are you in? I don't know. Use the fucking Google search. It's as simple as that. Good afternoon, kids. Lots to go over this week. It's going to be a good, hot, long week. Holy shit. As I change a bike tire because I almost had a blowout because I put in aftermarket bags and I had a real long bolt going through that I put a wing nut on. And when I got home, I rode it around 4 times. And when I got home on Friday to sit, have a cigar in the garage, I looked down at the bike. I'm like, what is that? Is that a tear in my tire? Yeah, I could have gotten blown out. So that'll be I'm slowing down for this week. Big news. It's Mercury retrograde. Bev, over in the chat, if you want to join the show chat, there is a chat. You can get the link on any of the descriptions where you're watching this video. You can click on it. It is in Telegram because we know how many people love to just watch all over the place. But Bev, if you can give us the full dates for Mercury retrograde, that would be great. But yesterday, as I'm hostile as all shit, being very confrontational in life, I'm like, why is it this way? And it's because it's Mercury retrograde. So I don't know if you believe in that at all, but I do. That's yeah. All right, Ilan, you're back, dude.
Yeah, brother.
We haven't had you on it since December.
Is that? I think we're missing one because wasn't I on? I remember I was doing construction in my house over here in April.
Did we do martial arts for that, or did we do? No. That was the we do several productions from the Rants of Izzo show, and that's where we talked all about your watches, and we have to talk about that. We're going to promote that today like crazy. Some very, very, very. We did a whole big podcast, which is actually available on Spreely Video under the Rants of Izzo channel. You could see the history of Agard watches, and they're just it's a gorgeous time. You don't know, no, not watches, they're timepieces.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you doing that. You're one of the few people who's that genuine and just looks out for people, so it's awesome.
Well, that's why I value you. So I figure we're going to get right into it. You asked me a question privately that I think you should ask me publicly. I really do. And I thought about this over the weekend. I'm like, well, you're going to come back on Monday, and I've got a great relationship with you. And it's like, man, you asked something that I think that other people may want to know. And when we first had you on, for those who don't know, Ilan's I first came across his channel because he does martial arts content, very good martial arts content on YouTube. And he was critiquing the martial art that I was in. And it was probably one of the best fair breakdowns of the martial art that I'm in from a guy who does not specifically train in it. So he got me back into YouTube martial arts, where I critiqued his video. And then that opened up me to start doing more content. And then you're one of the few people that you could present a opposing view, and it doesn't bother me. It's like, and that's how it should be. That's what we call a civil discourse. So yeah. I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I think that if I'm going to be worth any weight of what my word is, I think that what you asked me in public private should be asked in public, unless I'm wrong. Because
I don't think I have no problem asking it. I mean, and I came to you privately with it just because I have a lot of respect for you. I mean, I think you're the type of person who doesn't have bad intentions ever. So,
let's back before you ask me. I'm going to set this up. I specifically asked you to come on in December because I had never seen in all of my life the amount of Jew hatred. It's what it is. Blanket hatred towards Jews. Ever. And I saw it over on Twitter, more specifically, like anywhere. And I think you had noticed my comments, how I was just blown away by it. You had sent me some information. I've said a million times, I don't have a dog in the fight, but so I asked you to come on, and you, again, it's available on the podcast version back in December. You gave a phenomenal, very detailed background of the war between Palestine and Israel, the Jewish hatred, all of this. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Now, since then, I've had on other guests who don't share the same views as you, who give some stuff out. And we'll be talking about Matty Wack. And Matty Wack is a big enough man to accept any type of criticism. And I'll get into answering your question, because the point of this show is we fucking tell the truth about everything. So you asked me a question, and then I'm going to answer it publicly, and we'll go into the conversation, because I want to give the floor to you today to kind of go counterpoint against everything that's you've been irritated with.
Well, I don't know so much. Yeah, I mean, there's a much bigger problem in society, I think, and even the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is separate. People can have their opinion about a war that they have no understanding of, that they're not directly connected to. I think the fact that people are so obsessed with it, when we see death tolls 10 times higher right next door, and like Yemen and Syria, was an indication of the obsession with Jews. But that's not the point. The point is that if you stem off from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and you start obsessing over Jews in America, oh, Jews control the world, Jews this, the Holocaust didn't happen. I mean, you're just straight up an anti-Semite. They were cool enough to invite me onto their show, by the way, so kudos to them.
Yeah, Oh, you are going to go on?
I'd like to, yeah.
Yeah, I think you should. I think that there would be a great conversation to have. And again, I get it. When the reason why I like Matt so much is because we are the same in a very big characteristic. The volume of our voice is usually the only thing people hear, and then it's like, oh my God, you're X, Y, and Z. And I get it firsthand from the law enforcement community. Like, oh, you hate cops. It's like, Dude, you should know. You, Alana, above all people, should know this. Do you remember that video I did 12, 13 years ago that said why I don't like Bruce Lee?
Mm-hmm.
Huge. That was the one that launched me all over the internet. The amount of people, and this is how it goes, is the amount of people I was known as the guy who hates Bruce Lee. And nowhere in that video did I ever say I hate Bruce Lee. It's on YouTube. It's got like 600,000 views. And if you look at the analytics, you see that at 1 minute and 48 seconds out of the entire 14-minute video, at the 1:48 mark where I say this is why I don't like Bruce Lee, 57% of the audience stops watching. So, and it's the volume of my voice. I was told this when I ran for office. It was the black community. I had leaders from the black community say, listen, your message is great, but how you deliver it is shit. So I get it. So that's why I like Matt so much, is because we're passionate about what we talk about. I will say this. It does look like that if you have Matt on, that he hates all Jews. The Holocaust didn't exist. Now I am putting words in his mouth, but like I said, if I'm talking about him, I know that he's a man enough to fucking, back up anything he says. I have him on all the time because the guy is a fucking disgusting wealth of knowledge in areas that I'm not. So you asked me, it's like, why do you have Matt on? And I had said, well, the issue is I don't know anything about this. And even if the way that he's sounding, which is just like me, I hate all cops, or I hate Bruce Lee, or this and that. I want to hear from this man, because when he does his research, two things. He does his research, and if he's wrong, which he has been in the past, he publicly apologizes and acknowledges it. So that's why I take his word with extreme serious and credibility.
Unfortunately, first of all, research on the internet down rabbit holes of anti-Semitic websites is not an indication of truth. Another thing there is that he's not actually apologizing when he's wrong. And, so look, the Talmud. First of all, the guy he referenced in your video that he says is a Jew is not a Jew. You can look him up. He's not actually a Jew. Then you look at, he's even asked me, why do so many people in Congress hold dual citizenship? Number one, there's no obligation of disclosure in the Senate or for politicians. So nobody knows who has dual citizenship. The rumor, the anti-Semitic rumor, this is just basic truths. This is the problem. Gets so distorted. The truth is, any Jew who can prove that they have a grandmother on their mom's side who was a Jew can get dual citizenship. So based on that premise, they just accused everyone. Oh, Bernie Sanders must have Israeli passports. Oh, Chuck Schumer must have an Israeli passport. It's not true. It's just not based in reality. They're just saying it. And then the Talmud thing. They're saying Yeshua. These guys don't even speak Hebrew. They don't speak Arabic. I'm from the Middle East. My mother's from Iraq. I know Hebrew. I know some Arabic. They don't reference Jesus in the Talmud. They reference a guy called Yeshu. Yeshu was a very common name, and the time period has nothing to do with Jesus's time period. And then when rabbis found out, when this was told that it's offensive, they removed it entirely and made sure that no one could confuse it with Jesus. So again, there's just so many distortions. But if you go on the internet, you go down these rabbit holes, it's like the same thing as flat earth, unfortunately. They're very interconnected. You'll always find Jews at the bottom of every conspiracy. And that's exactly what these guys are doing, and they'll find whatever information they can. Look, if you're talking or thinking about Jews 24 hours a day, and they're the problem that you have in your life, and they're the reason for everything wrong in the world, you're an anti-Semite. It's that simple. There's not some grand conspiracy here with Jews secretly controlling everything. Unfortunately, for the Jews, because it would be great if we did. I say this as someone who was born Jewish, who doesn't really follow Judaism, but it would be fantastic if we had all that power.
Well, that's what I want to go
having
today.
The entire world against us with Israel. All these talks that were somehow controlling the media. The vast majority of media, proven, is against Israel. Reuters was caught photoshopping images against Israel. The BBC caught having to publicly apologize. Washington Post just recently, again, misleading headlines, always in one direction, against Israel. These Jews who are controlling the world seem to hate Israel a whole lot. So again, it's just such stupidity that's just constantly repeated. And it's dangerous nowadays because of the internet. So
well, that's what I wanted to give.
And
I wanted to go in today because I gave we did the whole show on even like, was Hitler the bad guy? Because I grew up, and I said this on the show, I went to Catholic grammar school. And even back then, we're talking 40 years ago, it was, oh no, what Hitler did wasn't wrong. And it's like, dude, shut up. You can't talk about that. And now you're getting things like the English translation of Hitler's speech. And wait a second, this is talking about killing Jews and whatnot. So Matt and I went down a very long kind of discussion on Wednesday. And I think I titled the video, "What was Hitler, the bad guy in history, really?" And I want to open the floor today. We're like, okay, here's some of the main points that a guy like me will walk away from, who has no, I'm not educated as you two are. So that's why if you two had a conversation, I think it would be fucking incredible. Okay, so
look, I'll be honest with you. I don't entertain the whole Holocaust denial thing. You can go watch the Nuremberg trials. You can go watch the countless documentaries. There's even been cases in Europe where there's actual hardcore historians who are just straight up. There's a film on it. This guy's a straight up anti-Semite. He was a white supremacist. He tried to present himself as a historian. He wrote a whole book, and it went to court because a woman defamed him, and she had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court that the Holocaust happened. And she shows a bunch of evidence. This has just been done so many times over and over and over. Like the gas chambers didn't have the escape valves for the gas to escape, so they couldn't have been gas chambers. And then it's proven that they did. They just aren't in those specific pictures that people reference. And if you look at the documents from the Nazis, it's like just such a rabbit hole, again, of, unfortunately, in my opinion, rehashed stupidity that if someone doesn't want to believe it happened, that's fine. They don't need to. But there is a documentation where even Germany comes out and goes, actually, the number was probably higher than 6 million was their most recent investigation. And we know the population of the Jews pre-Germany was significantly higher than what it was after the Holocaust. We know the population dropped over 60%. We're just starting to get back to the numbers that we saw pre-Holocaust now. So unless there's some grand conspiracy where like every census bureau, every Jew is lying, everyone who has a grandparent who was killed. I mean, it's flat Earth. It's the same thing as flat Earth. If you want to believe the Earth is flat, there's virtually nothing I can do to convince you otherwise.
Well, I think it's QAnon too, right? During the QAnon phase, I got sucked in so bad. I believed that there were John Podesta, was a hybrid chimera people living under the street, and when the Comfort and the Mercy were docked at both ports, I remember there was a picture on Twitter, and it was a guy, it was a doctor, and the picture was taken from the entranceway to the door. And you saw all you saw was the forearm of the person, and then the doctor whose back was towards the camera, and the forearm looked disfigured, whatever it was. Oh my God, see, that's a person with a lizard paw or whatever. And then you had the nurse who was crying, saying, you don't have to be scared anymore. Then you had the trauma centers, so I guess all of that production got people like me to go, oh, this is real. So why now is this massive attack on Jews so big? Why they run the world? We give all our money to them. They tell us how to vote. They control everything. Why is this so? It's everywhere today, especially in the last year. We're coming up on a year since the attack on Israel, right, from Palestine with the hang gliders. That's a fucking wow. It's been a year. So why is this so important right now that as America, we're going through a shitty economy, borders flooded, everything's out of control. And then a guy like me from Chicago, I got to worry about Ukraine and Russia, and now I got to worry about Palestine and Israel. Why is this being forced to choose to pick a side from so many people?
Picking a side with Jew hatred is not really the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Sure, you could be, if you want to put it that way, you could be picking a side. But with Jew hatred, that's the same thing as saying I believe black people. Let's say, imagine I came out and said I believe black people should be slaves, and this became a popular trend. And you're like, well, why do I have to pick a side? Because slavery is wrong. Jew hatred is wrong. Hating white people is wrong. Any type of irrational hatred toward people based on race or religion is wrong. I mean, it's not really picking a side. It's just basic ethics. I don't understand that people feel they need to pick a side on Jew hatred. Look, you should have empathy for both sides in the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It sucks for individuals who die. I know what war looks like. I grew up around it. It's not fun. Nobody likes war. Nobody likes to know their family's being bombed on both sides. So you should have empathy for both sides. There shouldn't be a pick a side there. It should be, how do we stop more death? How do we stop more suffering? Well, one way is not funding Iran billions and billions and billions of dollars so that they can funnel money to Hezbollah and Hamas. And if you care about Palestinians, you should at least be open enough to say that Hamas is a major problem and that the mentality of supporting them is a major problem. Even if you want to criticize Israel, we don't see that. We see support for them now. And we see complete lack of accountability of any kind. And this ties into Jew hatred, by the way. I'll explain why. Identity politics. Identity politics on the left and the right are more common than people like to believe. The far right, which is what guys like your buddy actually believe in, they literally take the playbook of historical white supremacists, even though they'll deny it, white supremacist identity politics, where Jews are at the top of the hierarchy, controlling everyone underneath them, and they want to push all these ideologies, and they want to change America, and they want to control everything. That's what historically the KKK, the white supremacists, even Nazi Germany, that's what they espouse. That's exactly what your boys are doing. On the left, you actually have Jews on the top of the identity politics scale too, just in a different way. They're the white privileged colonized oppressor, but they're equally dangerous. In other words, to progressives, this is the same as to right-wing people. If you're at the top of their identity politics chart hierarchy, you are the problem. And so there's actually a unity. That's the great irony here. There's a unity between your buddy and these people on the left who are spreading Marxist ideology in the sense that they both hate Jews. And so it's just fascinating to see the agreement over it. Sorry, my dog is going bonkers.
I can't hear
scratching
it.
away.
I tell your mic.
No, it's just hilarious. You just breakfast on me scratching.
No, your mic is good. I told you your mic only picks up you. It's good. We didn't even hear the construction last time.
But that's so identity politics is at play, and it's become stronger and stronger and stronger. I'll explain why. The left has sadly been playing a very anti-white, anti-Christian game for a long time that has strengthened and caused people on the right to over-identify with their race, justifiably so. If you feel like you're attacked for who you are, you will dive into who you are more and be like, no, I'm not dealing with that. I'm okay as who I am. I should not have to apologize for being white. I should not have to apologize for being a Christian. And the very same thing now is happening toward Jews, where Jews are going to start identifying very strongly as Jews because they feel attacked. But this rhetoric has just been going on for so long on the left. There's a lot of progressives on the left, a lot of groups that are led by Jews. This is just what it is. There's progressive Jews that exist. There's also progressive Christians. There's progressive any group. Atheists, you don't see them as much with Muslims. But you do see that unity again on the left between Islam and progressivism. Radical Islam and progressivism are both united in their destruction of historically traditional Western values. To destroy America. So you do see that happening too, where the progressives are willing to side with them. And now you're even seeing it on the right, where the progressives are willing to, where the white supremacists are willing to side with Islamists. Again, because at the top of their hierarchy is Jews. So that's what's happening. It's just a big identity politics play. The reality is that a lot of Jews are actually on the side against. They would be the best allies for people who are trying to fight progressivism, trying to fight Marxism. But you don't see that. You see them now on the far right, sadly, people turning on the people who would make great allies in that fight. So again, people like me, who was awarded the Patriot Award from Tucker Carlson, who has stood by American traditional values for I don't know how long, who supports this country. Big supporter of our veterans, supporter even of our police, even with my criticisms, just like you may have in certain situations. But I'm the enemy now. So it's like, okay, I'm literally going out making videos about how Christians are persecuted in the Middle East and Africa, trying to raise money for them, trying to do awareness campaigns. And you know who I'm attacked by? Far right-wing Christians who tell me that Jews control the world and are doing this and that. And
well, you've seen where they've got that. We've talked about this back in December. Now, Matt doesn't have the pull of like a Stu Peters or Nick Fuentes when their words, and I blame Stu Peters. I shut down whatever that fucking fanatic moron had to say when he would sit there and say Jews are, and then that's the blanket statement. That's the same thing as me saying. Now, I'm the first guy who always says, if you have to say not all in the counterpoint for your argument, you're an idiot. So I'm being a hypocrite in this one. If I went to Stu's page and he said, Jews run the world. Well, and I say, well, not all Jews. You want to clarify your point? I'm being the exact same hypocrite as when I say fucking cops are corrupt. Cops are, because I've said it. The police are the domestic terrorists of America. And then that inflames everybody up there and says it. Now, I get that, but I always offer, after I've caught your attention with my rhetoric, the solutions to the problem. And hey, this is what I meant. But we know that 85% of the people who see something don't pay attention. So when it comes down
Can I
to
ask you this? Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Is the World Economic Forum run by a Jew? Is Vanguard and BlackRock run by a Jew? Is the president of the United States a Jew? Sure, you have guys like Soros. So what people will do is they'll say, but look at Soros. Look at Jeffrey Epstein. I'm like, but look at everyone else. Like, sure, there are bad Jews, or there are Jews who do scumbag things, or there are Jews who are push Marxist values in America. There are also tons of other groups who do this, who are not Jewish. It's only Jews somehow who are generalized in this way, that we're somehow, there's this big conspiracy, globalist conspiracy. So, and it doesn't, by the way, many Jews, like a huge percentage of Jews are patriotic. Both the Jews in Israel are highly nationalistic, and many Jews in America are highly nationalistic. So it's just an insane argument to say, but look at this Jew, look at Soros, who, by the way, is not even a Jew, who openly turned in people, Jews, to the Nazis. So it just seems like, again, it's another cop out. Like, oh, look, there's a bad Jew over here. It must be a globalist conspiracy run by Jews. I'm like, okay, and let's ignore all the Christians, atheists, and other groups that are also doing it. And let's ignore the president of the United States. Let's ignore Biden. Let's ignore Obama. Let's ignore Kamala Harris. Let's ignore everyone else in politics who's not a Jew. Let's accuse every Jew of having dual loyalty and dual citizenship that they don't actually have, just based on the fact that they're Jewish. And let's keep just justifying these things based on small little bits of evidence that are iotas of truth that we can then extrapolate into a global conspiracy that is not based in any truth at all. It's an impossible argument. My cousin told me something very good. He's like, if there's 1,000 lies being told every day, you're never going to catch up to it with one truth. So, and that's what we see happening all the time. And you can find any little bit on the internet nowadays to believe anything you want. And for people who just believe that their life's not the way it should be, or that the world's not the way it should be, you're always going to need someone to blame. It's always going to be easy to find the evidence to blame Jews.
I will always ask this. I don't understand. I'll put it this way. If I'm going to be the typical middle American, I can understand how people can get angry and blame the blacks for things, right? And say, blacks are the problems in America. Literally because we have statistics. 13% of the population, or from within 13% of the population, commits 52% of the violent crimes. The amount of unbelievable crime that is committed in urban cities like Chicago, Baltimore, DC by the black community. So these actual, visual, tangible criminal activities going on all the time would make sense if somebody said, holy shit, and then put a blanket statement out saying blacks are the problem in America because we have a tangible problem, this unbelievable criminal element. Now, I don't understand why the Jews are if you condemn the blacks, you're going to get people all over you going, well, no, can't do that. You can get banned from work and or you get doxxed and canceled and all that. But it seems this is what has been blowing me away, and it's still the social acceptance to have a blue check mark with 1 million followers. Say flat out, Jews are the problem with the world, and the amount of bloodthirsty people who just harumph behind them. So that's
because again, it's the identity politics. Jews are on average, especially Ashkenazi Jews, higher income earners, but so are Indians, so are Nigerians. It's so. But again, if you look at historically, Jews were pushed into industries like, and do seek industries like law, medicine, entertainment. So they're overrepresented in certain industries. That's based on, even Jordan Peterson covers it, an inherently slightly higher IQ, but on the end of spectrums creates a much bigger variation. Because if you look at how statistics are, if you're in the middle graph on a bell curve, you're not going to see that much variance. But as you come to the end where the graph drops off, where the bell curve kind of flattens, if you push that over, you're going to see a massive amount of Jews that are now overrepresented in the genius IQ category, which is obviously a huge advantage in certain industries. And that's specific to Ashkenazi Jews, but it's not Middle Eastern Jews. So yeah, you can find Jews overrepresented in areas that some people perceive as power. Not necessarily. Hollywood is no longer controlled by Jews. All the money coming in from Hollywood now is from China. You have a lot of money from the Middle East coming into Hollywood. I know, I'm an actor. I've been on countless TV shows I produce. So that's an area I'm an expert in. It's a myth that Jews are in control of Hollywood. But again, that's enough. And if you look at guys like Epstein, it takes one guy like Epstein for everyone to extrapolate, or Soros, or whoever they want, to then say, well, look at what Jews are doing. Like your buddy brought up the Jews in New York, and he's extrapolating. They must have been, doing things to kids because of bloody mattresses, and that's what all Jews do. Again, you find one incident that's weird, you extrapolate it to all Jews, you extrapolate it to the religion. They were going on rants on how I believe I'm a chosen person, and that's what all Jews believe. The vast majority of Jews, which is ironic here, the vast majority of Jews, and this is the hate that you Jews are hated for both things at the same time, both opposite ends of the same argument. We're hated for being too religious and believing we're holy and that God chose us. We're also blamed for being Marxists who don't follow our religion and being too secularized. We're blamed for, both ends of it. We're blamed for being the white colonizer oppressor, and we're blamed for, on the other end, like I said previously, for being the ones who want to bring in minorities and make the pool more mixed and destroy American values. So it's a great irony here that Jews can be hated for both extremes in an argument, both opposite extremes at the exact same time. We're hated for being communists and Marxists, and we're hated for being capitalists and making too much money. So and that's why the uniqueness of Jew hatred is not unique, other than the sense of other cultures who have been targeted this way and have been genocided or have been wiped out, never came back and achieved a high position of power and were able to make it through it. So there must be a reason. There must be a conspiracy why Jews keep surviving, even through the hate, even through the genocides that people deny, like your buddy, even through all that, Jews somehow still have a place in society and are still successful. There must be a reason, and that reason is either that Jews are highly perseverant, they're highly intelligent, and they just keep going. They have good cultural values, good two-parent households, all the basic things that culturally allow you to succeed, that Jews either follow those tenets, or that there's a global conspiracy and Jews control everything. And even though they control everything, they still allow themselves to be the highest victim of religious hate crimes in virtually every country in the world. They've had to leave every country in the world, which is another argument, by the way, that people use. Jews are so hated that they have to leave every country in the world, but they also control every country in the world. I mean, do you understand how even what I'm saying now sounds so idiotic and so rant-filled of like complete contradictions, but these are the arguments that are constantly made. So, it becomes very repetitive and very difficult to keep defending the idea that anti-Semitism is wrong.
Yeah, that's why I have him on and I have you on. You guys are both extremely well-educated, articulate.
He's not, though. He's not well-educated. I'm sorry to tell you.
No,
he's following trends of basic conspiracy. It's the most basic, low-level, intelligent rabbit hole you can go down. And I can do the same thing with anything. Why is it when I look at the horizon, answer this to me. I'm gonna put you through a test right now.
Sure.
Why, when I look off at the horizon, is it straight, not curved, if the Earth is curved?
I would have to assume because the Earth is so damn big, it doesn't make sense that the human eye could see the curve.
Okay, but if I go up, how many feet do I have to go up to see the curvature?
I would have to assume you'd have to go into space and have I don't think you could. I don't think visually you could. It's too big for the human eye to comprehend.
Okay, so even when we measure the Earth, we can't measure curvature.
I think, don't they do that based off of shadows and pillars? Like how?
No, that's just the angle of the sun. I mean, that has nothing to do with curvature. That's just where this. I can put you through, by the way, a series of questions right now that will imply the Earth is flat. I can easily do it. That you won't be able to answer, by the way. Questions that the average person can't answer. And even scientists, if you go down this rabbit hole, it's just become so much like random words. And you could do it. You can watch guys online. Like there's a guy, Austin Whitsitt. You can watch him debate people. He's a flat earther. And it becomes impossible to answer him at some point. It becomes impossible to make an argument against him at some point. And that's what the exact same thing that happens. And by the way, most flat earthers go down the same conspiracy rabbit hole because everything is a lie. they also very much believe Jews are behind everything. There's an interconnected thing there. When you start going down everything is a lie, you'll end up as a flat earther and you'll end up hating Jews. But it's not hard nowadays to do that to people, to put them through a series of, misleading logical questions that inevitably lead you to a conclusion while leaving out the vast majority of information that's over here. And so that, in my opinion, that doesn't require intelligence. It's either through ignorance, it's the opposite of intelligence, or it's through intentional, insidious desire. I don't know. I don't know your friend. I don't know if he's insidious.
No, and I hope you guys.
I don't know if he
I hope you guys get together, have a conversation. I think you and I share a very similar quality in that we're not absolutists when it comes to certain things, especially because of the background, right? It's like I can never. You've seen me defend with every ounce of breath I have in my martial art Wing Chun. And how many years did we spend online in forums against absolutists? Oh, this is the best. And it's like you just get tired of it, and you put your position out there. You stand by it and you go, okay, I could see, and you learn to appreciate a different side of it. But when somebody is dumb on something that actually makes no sense, you let them run with it. We have to pay bills. Hang on a second. All right, kids, this is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely.com. Go to Spreely.com, check out all the things we have to offer there. Swag, you got it. You want meat, you got it. You got other shows out there like the Burn Pit Podcast, Report No Pine, Shannon Joyce Show, Pete Santilli Show. It's all out there. But today, let's talk about if you're suffering with autoimmune disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, pre-diabetes, diabetes, weight gain, thyroid disease, hormonal imbalance, PCOS, endometriosis, and I think I pronounced that, IBS, skin issues, parasites, candida overgrowth, and your doctor is only prescribing one big pharma medication after another, contact Maureen at Create Holistic for a free 20-minute phone consultation. Maureen is a holistic health coach who helps men and women heal their bodies through proper nutrition and detox. Only you have the power to heal your body, not your doctor. To get a hold of Maureen, you can go to createholistic.com. That's createholistic.com, or contact her directly at Maureen, M-A-R-I-N-E, at createholistic.com. Go check her out. Would you please, sir, talk all about that awesome timepiece company you have?
Is Egard Watch Company?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at these crazy watches. We do a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, we stand up for traditional values, American values. We did a video a year ago called Erased, which was calling attention the notion of biological men in women's sports, problem with that. And we did something in support of police. We did another one in support of masculinity and against toxic masculinity. We did a video that was very, very viral. When Gillette did their video, we did a response to Gillette called What is a Man? And since then, we've just continued to do all types of campaigns.
And if anybody wants to look at all the gorgeous timepieces that you have, where can they go?
They can go to Egard, E-G-A-R-D, watches.com. We got some really cool stuff on there. So, yeah.
There are some damn cool watches. God knows, that's fantastic. All right, we're talking today. I like when Ilan comes on because it's, again, when we have guests on that could shut me up and I actually listen, then it's a good show for me, where I don't talk as much, because there's a lot of shit I just don't know about. And I have a real big passion to argue, but at the same point in time too, I love it where it's like I have nothing to contribute because I have no argument. And that's, I guess, to go back to the beginning of the question, that's what I'm kind of looking for. Because Matt said the same thing, right? It's where your position was, well, you have a responsibility to pick a side because, it's if you're almost calling out for a second Holocaust and eradicate a group of people, your job is to step up and condemn that. And I don't see a middle ground to where you are. Like you back in December, you said you can be pro-Israel or pro-Palestine and still condemn what is happening to the other side, because that's what human beings do. And I saw no problem with that. I want to hear all sides. And so it's like, if I'm going to be forced and drug into this and I have to figure out what's going on, I can't picture myself going, these Jews are all bad and whatnot. But again, too, the other side of me is going, how much have I been fucking lied to throughout my life? And that's what I wanted to know. That's what I want to know about. Okay, if if an idiot, and I think he's an idiot, Stu Peters, if he has all those people following him, that's his living, is espousing what he's living, and he's going to risk his reputation by saying the Holocaust didn't happen, Hitler wasn't the bad guy. He's got his fucking minions. If they could dress like Hitler and go out, part their hair, grow a tiny mustache, they would. So why, if he's so much on that, I want to hear more about the fuck were we lied about, if anything. So when Matt does talk, he's, for me, I don't have the information like you do. He is compelling. He is influential. He is educated. And I'm like, holy shit. So when you DM me, I'm like, yeah, I got to have you back on, because how many people are like me? And we just don't know what to believe. So we want to hear the truth about everything. So, I mean, I'm glad you did reach out, but I want to hear more about what.
So I think this is what happened. And again, I don't blame people for this, because I'm in the same boat. I think I've always been skeptical of the government. I've always been, I just believe governments are inherently oppressive by nature. They seek power, they seek control. And there's a lot of indications of it in the United States, that they, given the opportunity, will take land from farmers. They'll violate your rights. They'll do whatever they can. And so, but I've always had a sensitivity to it. Then COVID happens. COVID, I think, was a big, am I allowed to swear on this show?
Yeah, fuck, shit, piss, cunt.
Okay, so it was a big mind fuck to people, because a lot of people had trust in the government. A lot of people, and there's certain fracture points, I call them, where they're not politically divided 100%. Israel-Palestine is a fracture point, even though it's highly biased. There are some Democrats who are very, very pro-Israel who've been outspoken. Anti-Semitism is another fracture one. You see it on both sides, but you see people also standing up against it on both sides. But COVID was a fracture point. COVID, it didn't matter if you were on the right or the left. There were some people who were just inherently, but you saw it more on the right, who inherently had a higher distrust for government. And we're like, I'm not locking down. What the hell are you talking about? I'm a healthy, young individual who wants to go work. And how long? You said 3 weeks to flatten the curve, 6 weeks to flatten the curve. Now we're at 3 months. Now we're at 6 months. Now we're at a year. And then you said with vaccine passports, you said, hey, we're never going to have vaccine passports. You're going to have a choice to do the vaccine. We'll never violate your rights like that. To 2 weeks later, 2 weeks. Well, we're doing vaccine passports. You want to fly, you need a vaccine card. You want to go work, you're in the military, you need a vaccine. I needed a vaccine card for my work. You want to go into a restaurant, you need a vaccine card. Grocery shopping, so they just shifted. And even just the amount of lies historically throughout COVID that happened. 1 week, a mask works. The next week, it doesn't. The next week, it does. The next week, it doesn't. If you're a Trump supporter and you go to a rally, you're a super spreader. But if you're a million people out on Hollywood Boulevard twerking in the name of BLM and pouring champagne on each other's heads, you're not a super spreader. And so, like, the amount of lies that were just so blatant in people's faces, and then lying about the vaccine side effects, which are coming out more and more and more. If you're a person who sees that and you had trust before, everything becomes a lie after that. If they can lie about all that, they can lie about anything. And then you see people just kind of going along with it and turning in their own family members. And then you see stuff happening that's even worse now. There's literally things that have happened in politics in the past, even just the past 2 months, are insane. Just from, hey, the media is lying to you about Biden. He's clearly not mentally capable. But they're telling you, oh no, it's all deep fakes. Then the debate happens, and in a second, literally in a second, the entire media turns on him. You're going to tell me that wasn't orchestrated? Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, Kamala Harris replaces him. And they don't even apologize. We didn't lie to you. We didn't lie to you. We didn't know that he was mentally incapable. We thought we were reporting it was all deep fakes. We were reporting he's the most cognitively aware guy, to a dime just turning on you. And then right after that, Kamala Harris getting $180 million. Kamala Harris is the sweetheart of the Democratic Party when she was just the most hated thing in the world. And you see people like zombies. Then Trump is literally almost assassinated. And the same people against conspiracy theories are now espousing conspiracy theories that he had the bullet whisked by his own head. Anyone who knows about guns knows that's physically impossible. You can't turn your head at the exact right moment to only catch your ear against a 5.56. Couldn't do it with any bullet. You couldn't do it with a 22. It's just physically impossible. No one's that good a shot. No one has that kind of timing. Someone's head did get blown off. That
blows me away, where it's like, I literally, when it happened, right, there were one of two reactions going through my mind, which was, holy shit, a president in my lifetime, not active, was shot. And the other one is, did they plan this? And I could not believe that thought even entered my head, let alone, holy shit, I don't believe anything anymore. I wonder if they planned this. But yeah.
No. Wondering if they planned it is actually the more logical outcome based on everything that's happened to Trump. I'm actually arguing that the left was arguing that Trump had someone shoot at his own head. The logical outcome here, if you just look, is they let him in with a rangefinder. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. They let him in with a rangefinder, okay? They let the kid pass security with a rangefinder. He, in broad daylight, climbed up onto the roof with a long rifle. They had people for 4 minutes screaming, there's a guy with a gun on the roof. They didn't put Secret Service on the roof that he was on because they said it's not safe enough, but they had agents inside the building. He got off, now they're saying 7 rounds before he was shot, even though they knew about him 20 minutes before. And all the comms, there were no comms from the day. There's enough to imply a conspiracy theory that, and again, I'm not saying one way or another. I'm saying there's either such massive failures in the Secret Service that I don't even know where there has to be prosecutions for that degree of negligence, or there were people who just didn't care. Maybe they didn't plan it, but they're like, you know what? Maybe this is for the best for the country. We hate Trump. Now, is this such a crazy conspiracy? You have guys like Sam Harris, who's an incredibly intelligent person, openly saying we would have to do whatever we can to stop Trump. He's like a meteor coming to the earth. So it's a conspiracy out in the open. He's talking about this in regards to the Hunter Biden laptop, covering it up and what might be perceived as election interference, which is things like censoring media, censoring all these people, Facebook coming out and saying that Zuckerberg saying that they were told by people in the FBI, like, we're going to step in and say what's okay, what's not okay on your platform. Publicly admitting this. You just have so many things that have happened to Trump that are so unethical in broad daylight, and people defend it because they've been so brainwashed. Regardless of how you feel about Trump, you can't tell me it's okay for FISA abuse to happen and spy on American citizens. That's treasonous in most countries. And it was openly acknowledged that there was FISA abuse, that they created a fake dossier to spy on the incoming American president of the United States and people around him. And they paid people, a guy, to create this dossier that they knew was fake. And then the DNC and FBI both colluded to keep pushing warrants to spy on people with this fake dossier. No Americans care. It's like these things are just, it's 1984. It's like, how many fingers am I holding up? You say 4. I say, no, I'm holding up 5 fingers. And until you say 5 fingers, we're going to just keep re-educating you. And that's what's happening in society. And people see that. You see that and you go, I don't understand. I don't understand how this just happened right in front. I see that Biden is not mentally there, and you're telling me he's fine. I see this. I'm not a brainwashed zombie. And for some reason, you see people going along with it. No, he's totally fine. He's totally fine. He's totally fine. You're going to start not believing anything. Everything becomes a lie. And then again, when you go down that rabbit hole, Jews will always be at the bottom of that. The unfortunate thing is a lot of things are a lie today. There is a lot of social engineering. There is a lot of things that are happening that are unethical, but you're just going to use it to draw a conclusion. Again, it's an impossible thing to do. I can point out a lot of things about, let's say, any type of incident. The loose change guys. After 9/11, I went down this rabbit hole with the loose change guys, where it's like, is it America? Is it like?
What does that mean? The loose change guys.
Loose change came out. There were a company that came out after 9/11 that released DVDs. We didn't have the internet as much back then. Showing, there was internet, but the loose change guys in New York were just handing out these DVDs. I think it went viral online, showing a series of things that happened in 9/11 that don't make sense, right? From a non-educated standpoint. I used to believe like this was 100% orchestrated. There's a lot of things just visually on the surface that don't make sense when you look at 9/11. My dad's a brilliant engineer. He started pointing out things. He's like, look, I'm not saying one way or another, but you just have to look at the claims they're making. And then from an educated standpoint, analyze individual claims. So they'll say steel doesn't melt at the heat that the airplane fuel was burning at. No, but the structural integrity of steel at that temperature is weakened by anywhere from 60 to 80%. So if it's weakened that much with the impact of a plane, will there be a collapse and then compounding collapse due to the force? Yes, from an engineering standpoint, that is what you would see. But you can take an element of truth and then extrapolate from it a conclusion. Now, let's say even all of everything Loose Change said was true. This is a tactic that's used. This is a tactic that's used in any conspiracy theory. Let's say everything they said was true. Let's say steel doesn't have a reduction in structural integrity. Let's say the collapse shouldn't have happened. All that is true. So now what do I know? Now I know, okay, 9/11 something fishy is going on. What they do is they take your instinct now to say something fishy is going on, and they go, so who's really responsible? The Jews. And then you go, oh, that makes sense, because you don't need the evidence to support the conclusion that they're drawing. You just needed the doubt in the truth that they were originally challenging. And you could do the same thing with the flat earth. You could show a bunch of stuff that implies on a very superficial level that our earth is flat. And then you could say that our earth isn't round. And then you could say, so what's the conclusion? That it's flat. And they never have to present an actual functional model. They never have to actually go in depth of how it actually works. Just like this stuff with Jews, just like the stuff with any conspiracy, they sow doubt in a truth, which may not be a truth nowadays, in all fairness, but then the conclusion they draw from it is one that's based in their own bias. And a lot of people don't have the same, you should have, here's my argument to anyone who believes in conspiracies, have the same standard and burden of proof that you put on the truth nowadays as you do on the conspiracy. In other words, if you're going to question everything that is, from a mainstream media standpoint true, which you should, then challenge and hold a high burden of proof for everything that is then presented as a counterpoint. What's happening nowadays is everyone's going, well, it's not true over here, so it must be true over here. That's not how it works. This can equally be a lie to this. So it can be true, yes, that there's a lot of things going on in the world today. There's people socially engineering things. There are people who are lying to you to your face. The media, the DOJ, the FBI, politicians, all these major institutions are pushing globalist Marxist agendas. We could see that the world is not the way it's supposed to be. But then to just say, so it's the Jews. Oh, well, that explains it all. No, that doesn't explain it all. Then you need just such small amounts of proof. But Epstein's a Jew, but Soros is a Jew. By the way, not a Jew, an atheist. Karl Marx was a Jew, not a Jew. He was born a Jew and had atheist beliefs. It doesn't matter. You just need iotas of truth that you could then pull, and it's a much lower burden to prove the lie or the conspiracy than it is to do everything here. Because you said, you're so full of doubt. You need something to believe in. And so long as it's not coming from the mainstream, it'll make more sense to you and it'll be more justifiable to you.
So, well, the problem is the emotional driver behind it, right? Like we talked about this in December, where I had seen online Morgan Ariel puts up information about the Talmud that Jesus is burning in boiling semen and feces in hell right now. And
it's
right. Well, that's where I started to go is when you talk about the media, what do? They'll put out half truths about something. I just saw today, ironic enough, it was on some Jewish politician or he's a mogul, whatever it is. And he is going to buy, the title said he's going to buy porn for your kids. That's what it said. I'm like, all right, let me look at this. And what his position was, there were certain books in school that are not, or that are banned. And if the kids want these books, he will fund the kids' books. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at this. And one of the books was by Judy Blume, who was a very popular author when I was in grammar school. So I'm like, all right, how much? And I didn't find out what book it is or what the context was, but it blows me away how the media has to go, all right, let's take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that, and say it's porn, and then which is subjective, right? We used to go softcore porn. If you got Shannon Tweed on your TV late at night in lingerie, that's porn. So it blows me away how the media can do that, and then when they're wrong, they put a retraction out there that nobody knows about. Well, my point being is, what better way to get people on your argument, right? So I hate saying I'm Christian because I can't stand the hypocrisy of the Christian community, but I have faith in Christ. So if I'm of the easily influenced and swayed opinions, and here's Morgan talking about, hey, Jews around the world, we're giving all our money to Jews. Your tax dollars going to Jews. I'm like, I don't care. Hey, Jews say that Jesus is boiling in a vat of semen and shit in hell. Oh, no, that's how they get you all pissed off. They leverage your emotional beliefs and shit. So that's what I try to pay attention to too, because that's where it seems to go back to your point. Yeah. What is the saying? You can't prove a negative or you can't disprove a negative.
Yeah, it becomes, and by the way, the thing, even if let's say it were true, let's say I were to give this to them, which it's not. Again, Yeshu was one of the most common names, and it's not the right time period, and everything that is said does not line up. But it doesn't matter. Let's say it was true. Let's say the Talmud from back then, whatever, how many years ago, had something written that was anti-Jesus. You know what % of actual Jews have ever read the Talmud,
Oh,
know
right.
anything about the Talmud, have followed the Talmud. Like, it's not even and that Jews are secretly behind closed. In all my life, by the way, in all my life being around Jews, I've never once heard Jews mention anything negative about Jesus. It's not even like a concept that Jews think about.
How many Christians know the Bible?
That's what, and there's crazy stuff written in every religious text. It's just such a weird argument to me. Even if it were to be true, if that's what you're using to hate Jews, it shows that you actually just want to hate Jews. Like, if you're going to reach for they bring up the USS Liberty from decades ago that Israel accidentally shot during war. And it was tragic. Israel apologized. Americans were killed. But till today, this is the thing that people bring up. If you need to bring up a thing that happened decades ago in a war that was a tragedy, that never happened again, that was a one-off that Israel apologized for, it was a terrible miscommunication, and Americans were killed in it. If that's your big proof that Jews are secretly anti-American, it's just such a... Meanwhile, these same people don't obsess over what's happening with radical Islamists all over the world. These same Christians who hate Jews nowadays don't care. Don't talk about the 65,000 Nigerians killed. It's Christian Nigerians, Somalians killed. In Syria, they're killed. In Egypt, they're killed, the Coptics. In Iraq, all from radical Islamists. We're talking about Assyrians genocided in Iraq. Where my family's from, I know these. You don't hear them talk about it. You don't talk about any Christian populations being decreased in the Middle East. It's only Israel that we're obsessed with. It's only the Jews that are the problem.
Doesn't it blow you away? Because I've said this before. You literally have, I believe, in Michigan, there are Islamic training camps. And I know I'm probably miscategorizing them a little bit. But you literally have a book, the Quran, that does it not call for conversion or death. I mean, you literally have these things, and no, we're not doing that, but we're more outraged. You'll never see, even at 9/11, even when 9/11 happened, and the easiest thing to do was blame anybody who looked like they had brown skin, and it was, oh my God, that's a terrorist. And we were not anti-Islamic to the depths of how people are hating Jews now. So that's what blows me away, is you have, so far in a year, Israel is attacked, which has turned into leave the poor Palestinians alone, stop bombing their 33,000 children, and let's hate them all. And then, but when you have something like Islam that is literally beheading people, throwing gays off buildings, setting them on fire, well, we're not ready to take a position and condemn them yet. It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I just don't understand Christians who openly ignore that stuff. Well, them in the Middle East and Africa, the only place where the Christian population has grown and not declined, if we're looking at the Middle East specifically, it's Israel. You look at every other Arab country since the 1940s, the population of Christians has declined, either through exile or through genocide, through attacks on their population. So you have one country where the Christian population has increased. Over 85% of Christians polled in Israel hold positive views of the government and their life. They actively rescue Christians in countries that are persecuted. And in the rest of the Middle East, their population has declined. But Christians are like, man, the Jews in Israel are the enemy. They're the problem. Look, I'm not saying this is all Christians. Again, there's a tremendous amount of support from Christians. But guys like your buddies over there are very much the new wave of the fringe right, who are like Christian. I don't know if they're Christian nationalists or what they are. And it's just so, Candace Owens went down this route. It's a very, very easy way to get money, to get views, because
it's emotionalism there, but everyone plays off emotionalism and sensationalism. That's why, I have Matt on, I have you on, and you guys give positions I don't know about. I think it would be fucking fantastic if you guys had this debate on a show.
I mean, I told him I'll debate with him Israeli-Palestine. I have no interest in going down the Holocaust rabbit hole. Again, people they want to believe it didn't happen. They want to, I just don't. Sadly, that one, I've had so many debates, even with close friends who've now gone down this path. Well, maybe Hitler wasn't so bad. Maybe he wasn't what history presents to us. Okay. Maybe Russia's actually the victim in the world. Maybe China's actually the victim. And it's funny because these people are pro-America, espousing now completely anti-American values, which is that America maybe is the secret liar all along, that maybe we are the oppressor. when it's the freest country in the world, and has it done terrible things? Yes, but it's not China. I don't know. I mean, I can point out more things. I can point out that the obsession with the 30,000, 35,000 dead Palestinians, half of which now, by admission of the UN, are combatants, are militants. You're talking about 16, 17,000.
Yeah, I don't know which way to take either. When you got all of a sudden now these videos popping around, and how can you verify them? Of like literally scenes being set up of acting, and you see rubble.
That's always been there. You can type in Pallywood. That's always been there.
Yeah,
but we do know the numbers, and the numbers are lower than virtually any war in modern day history. So, but that's what people only focus on. And I tell people, like, why are you only obsessed with a combatant militant to civilian ratio of 1-to-1, which is the lowest in modern day history, versus literally every other war going on right now where we have 10 to 100 times the death toll? Why is it only the Palestinians that are uniquely suffering in your view?
These are great friggin' points. I'm glad you came on. Let's plug Agard Watches again, please. To get her a shout.
Watches. EggardWatches.com. Yeah, that's the company. Check it out. And hopefully you don't hate this speech that I gave. This is a free speech show. We talk about everything from porn to politics. I don't give a shit what somebody's view is. So you guys, like you and Matt, tolerate my shit. How much shit I talk about that you guys might not agree with. I love you, brother.
So that's what I give a shit about, is we all have different fucking viewpoints. And it's at the end of the day, we're all grown ass men who booed a battle royale between you, me, and Matt. Oh my God, that'd be fucking awesome. But I won't. We're never gonna do that. Hold that thought. Guys, have a great damn day. Make sure you stick around. Go to Spreely.com. Check out all the other awesome shows. Tomorrow we're back with Eric Butler from Report and Opine. God knows what we're going to talk about then, but we will. Have a great damn day. Go help somebody today. Enjoy Mercury retrograde and make their lives easier. Don't fucking hurt them.